Hi there, I'm Dave Spicer, and I'm here to talk to you about what I consider to be the primary problem of our time right now, and that's solving the financial crisis. And I want to talk to you about doing that by going back to the future, and I'll explain what I mean by that. I've just gotten through watching the presidential debate, the last one, and I was singularly unimpressed with both our candidates. It seems a shame that we can't find people who can provide at least some glimmer of hope for solving a problem of this severity. They don't offer any creative or constructive ideas for solving it. So maybe it's time for citizens to do that. So I've got about 10 minutes on this YouTube video, and up here you'll see I've got a little clock running. So if you hear this thing go off, you'll know that's my egg timer, and I have to close this one down and we'll start another one. I suspect what I'm going to say is going to take maybe 3 of these 10-minute sessions, so please stick with me if you would. The other thing is I may periodically need to bring up a calculator. So see this thing pop up, that's just what that is, and I'm now ready to go. So we'll put the toys away and get into the meat of the discussion. Basically, I'm concerned about the direction the government's going with regard to this bailout. They've acquired the right to spend $700 billion of our dollars on a solution. Unfortunately, they don't seem to have a very good plan for spending it. And when you see what I'm going to tell you, you might be concerned as I am that I'm not sure that the $700 billion will solve it. So let's see where this goes. Well, again, my most recent interest has been writing books, and my recent book is called Deadly Freedom, which is about actually a bigger problem than the financial crisis. And how can that be, I suspect you're asking? Well, our financial crisis, according to our government, is going to cost us $700 billion. Solving our energy problem would actually save us $700 billion a year, okay, which is what we spend today on importing oil. And we can actually do this today. We have all the technology. Battery technology has brought cars into place that can run on electricity. We have some very nice machines being built and currently available even. And the source for the electrical energy we need is actually out in our desert southwest. We have enough capacity in a solar thermal form to provide all the energy this country needs, and in fact enough for 15 to 20 countries our size. So I'd like to talk to you about this, but there's actually more pressing business, because if we don't solve the financial crisis, we'll never get to this. So I thought I'd put down some ideas, and here's what I'd like to cover. Let me change my marker here. Basically, I started thinking about this, and to think through properly, I had to go through and consider how money moves in the banking system. Then ask, how did we get into this mess? Then I wanted to review the bailout schemes, and there's multiple. As you remember, we started out by saying, Paulson was saying, we're going to buy mortgage-backed security assets. And in fact, that was in the original bill. But of course, that never happened. They've changed their tune, and instead they want to invest in banks. And I'm going to talk about why they've done that, and my concern that even the investing in banks won't work. And in fact, there's been some discussion in some corners about starting a new bank, and I'll talk a bit about how this one could end up becoming that one. And then I'm going to end up what I call the unwind option. And this is where I get back to the future. So talk about essentially undoing what's been done, and I'll show you how that could happen. Talk about why it will work. Then I'm also going to talk about who wouldn't want to see it work, and I think you'll find that that might be interesting. There are forces, I believe, that prefer to stay on the path we're on, which I don't believe gets us closer to solving the problem. So to solve this, or think about the problem actually, I decided I needed to go back and think about it from an accounting sense, because when you discuss banks or other businesses, the primary way to model and think about a business is basically its balance sheet. And so I'm going to go through a graphical balance sheet and use this to build up a model of banks. and then talk about, and then use that model for all the discussion there for all the issues that we want to discuss. So just as a review, of course, this is a balance sheet. So assets on the left, liabilities and equity. And of course, the equation it must hold is equity equals assets minus liabilities. And the game, of course, in business and in your personal life is to maximize equity by maximizing your assets and minimizing your liabilities. And if ever equity goes to zero, you're out of business. So that's the game. And let's see what's happening to banks that are playing this game. Now over here I've got some other building blocks because we need to put some assets and liabilities into this bank. And one of the assets we're going to use is a mortgage-backed security. Well, this mortgage-backed security is made up of multiple individual mortgages. They're just bundles of mortgages. I show 1,000 here, but you can have several thousand in a bundle. And for my example here, I'm assuming the average mortgage has a balance of $100,000. Therefore, if there's 1,000 of them, we end up with a mortgage-backed security, the securitized form of this, as $100 million. And then I put 10 of those together to create a $1 billion security, and then 50 of those together to create a $5 billion. So we just need different building blocks. Then also on the asset side, we have loans to other people. These could be businesses or banks. On the liability side, we have loans from people. And of course, for one of our assets is going to be cash. And then over here, we've got just dollars that I'm going to use to represent how much equity we have. So let's step down and put this together and build a bank. So here's our bank, and basically what we have here, if you add these up, is we have $12 billion in assets. Over here we have $8 billion in liabilities. And of course, the difference between those two has to be our equity, $4 billion. So now, that's my prototypical bank. What I'd like to do now is put together a group of banks, because we have to look at the flows between banks, and we need more than one bank. So I've put together 3 banks, and we'll call them Bank A, Bank B, and Bank C. And then let's take a look at the flows that occur when these banks start transacting. So in the normal situation, and this was before, let's say, November of 07, which is a key date, and I'll get to why that's a key date. This is the way banks operate, or operated. They don't today because all these lines are broken. So here's, let's start with Bank A, and he has a loan from Bank B. He has a loan from Bank C. C has a loan from Bank B. And B doesn't show as having loans. Of course, he does. We just haven't tied them down, but he has loans from other banks as well. And in the normal course of business, these banks use these loans on a fairly short-term basis. They might be a 90-day loan, where they're paying interest to the lender, and what they're doing is paying these off, going back, getting another loan, and basically they're living on credit between and among each other. And then they're using that credit, those resources, to generate their own loans to people like manufacturers. So of course the manufacturer, he has his own balance sheet, and he has assets, liabilities, and equity. And so what's really happening here is all of this works very well as long as the credit keeps moving. And as we've seen in the stock market recently, people have lost faith in the ability of businesses to actually get the credit they need to do things like pay off their loans. They have loans from people like Bank A, and they also have inventory to buy, and they have other things Oops, there's my timer is complete here. So I'm going to have to break out of this in a second. I'm just going to hit OK. But as I was saying, they have loans to pay back, and if they can't get credit, they can't get new loans to pay back the old loans. So I'm going to close this one down, and we'll get back to you in the next video.